The Kansas City Royals are projected 81.2 wins in 2025. They won 86 games. They were not viewed as a potential playoff team last year. Not in the least. The main reason, if it were to come down to one player, Bobby Witt Jr., he is undeniably a top 5, top 3 player in baseball right now. I think he just had one of the best seasons you can possibly have and not win MVP. I mean, you look at his baseball savant, which is not objectively the greatest way to measure a player, but I think you can just look at this and be like, this dude balls. Batting, base running, fielding. He's one of the fastest players in baseball. He's one of the best, if not the best, fielding shortstop. He hit 332, 389 on base, 588 slug, 977 OPS while hitting 32 homers and stealing 31 bags. Almost had a 30-50 season in 2023. Another big reason that they made the playoffs was their starting pitching. I mean, Seth Lugo, I think, where did he finish? Did he finish second in Cy Young? Did he really? No, he did. He did finish second, and Cole Reagans finished fourth. That is crazy. Their rotation was amazing. Brady Singer had a good year. Very big bounce back year. Michael Wacha had a good year, but they did lose Brady Singer to the Reds. But let's just go look at what they lost. They lost Paul DeYoung. They lost Yuli Gurriel. They lost Tommy Pham, Nick Anderson, Robbie Grossman, Adam Frazier. Not too many big names. I'd say the biggest name they lost is Tommy Pham, probably. They brought in Mike Lorenzen, though. Actually, did he play a little bit with them last year? Am I just losing my mind? Did they trade and get him at the deadline? He did. He started 6 games. He was ridiculously good with them. 1.57 ERA, but a 3.9 FIP. But anyway, I was talking about they traded Brady Singer. They traded him for Jonathan India, who's a bat that they desperately needed. That is the one thing that I think is a weakness for the Royals, is their second half of the lineup. Right now, you got Jonathan India, Bobby Witt Jr., and Vinny Pasquantino. Salvador Perez is your top 4 in the lineup. I think that's a very, very solid top 4, especially with Bobby Witt Jr., who's probably one of the best players in baseball, one of the top 5, top 3, like we talked about. Vinny Pasquantino, he had a great season last year, and he drove in 100 runs, I think. I know he kind of missed a little bit of the second half. 97 RBI. He had 496 at bats, 111 OPS plus, 760 OPS. There's definitely a world where that is not the ceiling that he improves on that. He's 27 years old. Jonathan India, he had a decent year last year. I think that's a very, very good get for the Royals. Salvador Perez, he's getting a little bit older. What does he have left in the tank? I go to a lot of Royals games because I live in Kansas City, and watching him run the bases is pretty interesting, to say the least. To put it nicely, 27 homers last year, 119 OPS plus, 786 OPS. Very strong season. A 2.5 WAR is not something I was expecting. I do think he's better off as the DH, but they don't really have, maybe Freddie Fermin behind the dish, who's listed on the bench right now. I think that's a pretty decent catching tandem. He didn't have a crazy good year last year, Freddie Fermin, 1.9 WAR, 91 WRC plus, but I do think that he is decent enough. 685 OPS. You got Michael Massey, who had a decent year last year, a 743 OPS. I think he can take a step forward. You got Hunter Renfroe, who has just kind of been a non-factor over the past couple years. He's been disappointing, in my opinion, since they signed him. MJ Melendez in left field. When is he going to take a step forward? Talking about steps forward, Michael Garcia also. I thought last year was going to be the year he broke out. It just didn't happen. And Kyle Isbell playing Nick Lofton, Dairon Blanco, and Nelson Velasquez, who has really, really good power potential, just didn't show it last year. And the rotation has really been a staple of Kansas City last year. I mean, you got Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo as a 1-2 punch last year. Fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised if it flip-flopped and Cole Reagans finishes ahead of Seth Lugo in the Cy Young voting. I just think he has that type of potential. What a get, by the way. They traded Chapman for him straight up 2023. That's just one of the best trades I think I've seen work out for the Royals and the Rangers, because they won the World Series that year. And Reagans is going to be an ace type pitcher for the next however many years. Michael Wacha did well. Michael Lorenzen, he's decent. I wouldn't say, I think he's a great number 4. And Chris Bubich, who looked really, really good last year in his limited amount of innings, 11.57 K per 9 in 30 innings. I believe that was all in relief, but man, that's just great stuff. Great stuff. That was all in relief. So if he can kind of take that into the rotation as a number 5, not saying it's going to be exactly that type of production, because it won't be, it's just different. That's a really, really good rotation. Plus they brought in Carlos Estevez. You traded for Lucas Urseg in July last year. Same with Hunter Harvey. Those 3 are really, really solid bullpen pieces. Really, really really solid. You also have John Schreiber, who was brought in via trade last year. Angel Zerpa, Chris Stratton, Sam Long, and Carlos Hernandez. I think it's a pretty decent top and back end of the bullpen with Estevez and Lucas Urseg. I think that's very, very decent. Overall, I'd say the bullpen is a little bit weak, especially the guys that aren't Estevez, Lucas Urseg, and Hunter Harvey. But the bullpen's so volatile that I think maybe some of these guys just kind of finds it, or maybe they bring someone up from the minors. Also, you have James MacArthur and Kyle Wright on the injured list. James MacArthur, I don't know what he's going to be if he does come back this year. It looked like he has elbow surgery for a fractured olecranon process, and he had that in November 2024. So I don't know what the timetable is on that. It sounds pretty extensive, maybe a 6-month sort of situation. So maybe he could be back later in the year. Kyle Wright, who had a really, really good, I think it was a 2022 or 2023 with the Braves. They traded for him, and he just has had some bad luck with injuries. He had a torn capsule in his shoulder. So I don't know when he's going to be back and what type of pitcher he's going to be when he comes back. He was pretty awful in 2023 when he did pitch, 6.97 ERA. But I mean, that 2022 was great. 3.58 fifth, 3.19 ERA in 30 starts. Really, really good pitcher. Got Cy Young votes. I'm a Braves fan. I didn't know that. I did not know he got Cy Young votes that year, which makes sense. And I do still like this Royals team. They do need Vinny Pasquantino to really step up. They need Jonathan India to have a great year. Salvador Perez needs to not age this year. I don't know if I have confidence in the back half of that lineup with Michael Massey, Hunter Renfroe. I really want to believe that MJ Melendez will take a step forward. I want to believe that Michael Garcia will break out, because Under the Hood looked really, really good. I don't know if it still looks the same, but I really hope that he can figure it out, because he can be a great player. I think he stole 37 bags last year. Yeah, 37 bags last year. Expected batting average was 260. What he did was 231. He doesn't chase, he doesn't whiff, he doesn't strike out, but he also doesn't really walk, but he squares everything up. He doesn't barrel anything, but he hits it pretty hard. Has a good average exit velocity, but not a great expected slug. I don't know what to think. He's a really good fielder too. He's 66th percentile in sprint speed, which is not bad. He's only 25. There's still plenty of time for him to break out. And I think it needs to be this year. It needs to be this year, because if that back half of the lineup doesn't perform, they're going to need Bobby Witt Jr. to have that same type of year, which is very possible. It's very possible, but it's so difficult to put up a season worth 10.4 F WAR. That is so hard to do. That I want to believe. I want to believe in the Kansas City Royals, because that's where I live. I live in Kansas City. And the 81.2 wins, which seems low. What's up with Pacoda? These are all low records. I'm going to go with the over. I do think they're still good. I don't know if they're going to be as good as last year. 86 wins. I think they could do that again. I believe in them. I do. And I think they could make moves in the offseason, or not the offseason, but by the deadline, to get them closer, because I know they have expectations this year. They just do.